Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell, mom of 18 and executive director of Doula Co-op of Nevada. With more than 15 years in birthwork, I've had the privilege of walking beside families through life's transitions. My work centers on connection, community, and amplifying voices that too often go unheard. Each episode is an honest conversation about the messy, beautiful, and transformative experiences that shape us as parents and as people. Join me for honest conversations that remind us we're never alone. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the incredible guests who show up with courage and authenticity to share their stories with us. Let's dive right in. Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. Today I'm excited to have Toni Curtis on. Toni, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing well. We're talking about the schedule. Do
Oh,
you have
yeah,
kids in school?
I do. This was their first week back in school. So I feel like I've been going on the parent whirlwind, and I was one of those parents who walked in to the school supply section late.
Yeah.
That was almost terrifying.
It is terrifying. That is terrifying. Well, that leads us right into you sharing your parenting journey with us. Jump in.
Absolutely. So my journey started with me suffering infertility. I went through infertility for 17 years, and during that time, I took care of others, but I couldn't get mastery over my own body to make it possible for myself. But we're here now today, so I do have two children. I personally call them Gale Force Destruction.
Totally 100% accurate.
So as I move through being a parent, I am very steadfast in regards to that academic side of me. Sometimes it can take over. And
Hmm.
so I did all the planning, and I've done that planning and implementation for others for a long time. But when it came to me, oh my God, did I learn what it meant to be anemic and a parent and still show up? And what is it like when you have a baby and a toddler? Because
Hmm.
that's an experience. Because I thought it was a great idea because everyone said it was a great idea to have two under two because you get them out. Nobody talked about what I affectionately call baby hazing. The, the baby hazing that you go through as you are trying to regulate your life, your sleep, and everything else. And then what did I decide to do? I said, oh, this isn't enough. No, not at all. Let me go in and learn an entirely different science in a different way because I have been able to heal myself. So I'm trying to parent these two very cute little people who look like me or someone I know
Hmm.
while dealing with the challenges of trying to remain myself.
Oh my gosh, don't you think that's an issue like every woman has when you become a mom, not losing yourself to the process while you're sleep deprived? It's
Yes.
crazy how hard it is.
It, it is that's an understatement. And it was even harder for me because even though I'm a professional in this field, I had to have a special kind of consideration because my husband went through depression when we had our children. And I had a very hard birth. So I hemorrhaged, I was anemic, I had to recover from a fourth degree tear. I called the personal body cleanup on aisle nine.
Yeah.
I was going through cleanup on aisle nine. I was trying to put myself together while personally not having any empathy for the other person who was going through what is a recognized disorder, but it's not recognized by the other person that's living alongside them. I didn't have time to recognize this issue. I'm sorry. I was a new mom.
Right.
It wasn't gonna work for me. I was like, you have to go and work on that. I can't work on that for you. And it took us a long time to have children.
Yeah.
So we had gone through miscarriages and loss. And so then we finally had our children, and I hit an unexpected place where I was still trying to be a whole person and take care of my new baby, the first one, while dealing with someone who didn't transition well into their role. They walked into it, but if you know anything about depression, sometimes they can be highly functional,
Yeah.
but they can't be supportive, right? So they can do things, but they can't be supportive. So you're on this journey on your own and you're going through the ebbs and flows. And my children are a bit older, they're elementary school now, so sleep training, breastfeeding, and then getting them into school and getting into that flow and getting them through all of these things. And I didn't mention this, I actually skipped over this. I ended up having a second child. I have two. The first one I had via IVF. She was my last embryo. She was a special surprise. Like, I was very determined. I did all of the traditional healing to make it possible. And then I got pregnant spontaneously with my son.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. I showed up at the doctor and they said, "Well, I told you to get on birth control." I was like, I had 17 years of birth control.
At what point are you no longer worried? You know what? There are so many of these stories, though, of people doing infertility and then going to adopt and getting pregnant, or which happened to my sister-in-law. She adopted twins after years and years and years, and they were 16, and she got pregnant when she was going through menopause. So, I mean, crazy, crazy stuff can happen, and lots of people who have a baby, and then it's like it resets your cycles and your, which is you.
It is me. I actually was able to get pregnant when I went for my embryo transfer. It's one of the reasons it was successful over my others. Um, what I'll say is that I took the time to study the female design as a woman and how we actually work. And a lot of times with women, we have such deep endocrine disorders related to stress, cortisol, expectation that it dysregulates our system. It either gives us an endocrine disorder or an autoimmune disease. You have to learn how to reset. You have to learn what nutrients to intake. You have to learn how to live. And then on top of that, once you have a child, how to live alongside children. Because, you know, kids don't really care. Kids need you to show up every day. They get up every day. They have nothing else to do but be in the family, right? That is their existence, to be these small people that you are raising, teaching, educating, loving, caring for, and raising. They don't have anything else to do. They don't have careers yet. They just get up every day.
Mhm.
So it's a
They don't
very
I don't think they see you outside of being a mom either. I remember when my kids started getting older and being like, "Oh, you act differently than you do towards us with that person." Well, I'm being a friend or a sister or a
Mhm.
spouse or we've all these facets and none of them are a lie, but we show up differently in different situations. You don't wear a bikini to church. That's sort of what the different facets of your personality are, right? Show
Absolutely.
up, and they only see you as one thing. So
Hmm.
and that's all normal. Your your resume, your list of accomplishments. You have it listed as your current accreditations. I'm a birth doula. I have a bunch. You have like this. You have to scroll like the wheel of fortune down yours. It's amazing. I'm like so proud of you. But tell me how much you did before having children. Like, where was your journey in birth work prior to that? And you said you
Hmm.
went through IVF. I mean, I went through infertility up to IVF. It was like 10 months and medication and 7-day surgeries and like trying to rule out what's wrong with you. So, like, your infertility journey wasn't just like, it was 17 really hard years of infertility journey. So, I don't want to minimize that. Can you kind of bridge those gaps for us?
Oh, absolutely. So I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 18 years old. I had irregular cycles from the time that they started. They were painful. While a doctor will say to you, "Oh, this is normal." Well, let me tell you what it's like to have a period once every 3, 4 months, and it comes to assault you.
Yeah.
It comes to, like, you're trying not to bleed out.
Mhm.
Like, you're literally trying not to bleed out, go to work. explain to others because if you're in a relationship, they're like, what is happening to you? Why are you bleeding through everything? It's like you have to wear several pads, a tampon. You have to keep a change of clothes
Yep.
because in an hour or two, you would bleed through what a normal woman might bleed through in a few hours, several hours.
Yeah.
You would be able to, and then so that is an experience in and of itself. And to be told that that's normal
Mhm.
wasn't reasonable. But when I started, I was actually in high school. I was a peer educator. I went through a program to curb the spread of HIV/AIDS amongst teens. And you know, when you go talk in safe sex practices with teens, sometimes you don't get there early, you get there late, things have already gone on. I was the person who would take that person to the Ingham County Health Clinic because I'm from Michigan. So I just told where it took place. That's Lansing. And they also had a teen clinic called Willow Teen Clinic. So in Michigan, you do not have to tell your parents if you're pregnant. Uh, so you can get treatment as regards to prenatal care while you're not telling your parents. So I was that person. I was the person where if you had a possible STD or STI, as they say now, or if you thought you might have been pregnant, or if you wanted to go for treatment to not be pregnant anymore, or if you wanted to be on birth control, I was the person, right? I was the other teenager who took you to get that. Now, believe it or not, I don't want to say what year it was because that tells my age a little bit, but I used to be able to hand out condoms, spermicide, and the first round of your birth control as you went in. Now, yes, we can't do that anymore, per se, the birth control part, right? I had diaphragms. I I handed all this out in high school, and I went to a charter school, so they allowed me to teach in the health class.
Good for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think, that's divine intervention because where else would I have been able to do that but where I was? So that was where I started. And over the years, I was always the person that someone called when they're like, "Hey, we don't know what to do. I need a shoulder to cry on. I'm pregnant. I don't know how I'm going to take care of this child." I was the resource manager, which goes into my community health work. I was the person who knew every office to call, every application, every church. What do you need? Let's get you there. I worked in domestic violence prevention, helping women escape assault, right? There was a network that women could use to get away. Uh, Depending on the severity of their assault and their willingness to not return back to their partner. Uh,
Mm.
I did all of that. Then, this is funny because you said something interesting. I did meet my husband in high school.
Oh.
I did. I didn't marry him in high school. He messed that up. He forgot. He messed that up. He didn't take me to junior prom. He canceled on me last minute. He got friend zoned for like, I don't know, another 12 years. But I did meet him while I was in high school. We got married. We didn't have all of the things. We already knew each other. We'd known each other for a very long time. We've known each other since we were 15.
Mm.
And when we were ready to start our family, after building careers and saying, okay, I'm going to step away so we can build a family. At that point, I leaned so heavily on science.
Mm.
And
Yep.
I just knew what I had been taught was going to help me. And my infertility challenge really started. It started with the endocrine disorder. I wasn't with the endocrine disorder 10 years after I was diagnosed with PCOS, and it was only because I was exhausted, complaining, and my doctor was tired of seeing me.
Hmm. Which
Yeah,
good for you, but it shouldn't take that much.
no. And for those who don't know anything about hypothyroidism, oftentimes it presents in puberty. So when you start having dysregulation of cycles, it may not be PCOS, it may be a sign of hypothyroidism. You may have a totally different endocrine disorder, which is what I have. So they gave me medication and said, "Oh, no, this will fix it." It did not fix it because you have to reset the body. It doesn't work that way. Not even on our best days does it work that way. Medication is not going to simply solve 28 years of a problem.
Yeah.
or at least 28 years of life at that point. So I figured it out when I went back to working in corporate America. I was under infertility treatment at the time. I was doing IUI, intrauterine insemination. And for the first time, I went back to work and my ovulation cycle, the one they were triggering, failed. They couldn't get me to ovulate. And a light bulb went off in my head that I have been misled as to what my real culprits might actually be.
Hmm.
So I stepped away from the corporate life again and I went to traditional knowledge, right? What we call traditional ancestral herbalism, somatic work, parasympathetic reset, things that I've pioneered in my profession at this point. That's when I started studying. I became a nutritional therapist. I studied sports nutrition, fertility nutrition, and I really learned how the body works and how genes express. And I dove deep into the study of epigenetics. And the next thing you know, I went back for that last embryo
Oh,
and she's here now. And I had a very uneventful pregnancy, right? I had a very calm, easy pregnancy. She only gave me like pregnancy malaise, the sinus draining. Other than that, I had a beautiful pregnancy. I go to have the baby, and don't get me wrong, after going through all of that, when someone is telling you, my doctors were telling me, hey, you've had infertility, we need to induce you, we need to induce you, we need to induce you. And regardless of how much I knew induction wasn't necessarily the best choice for me, fear is a real motivator.
yes, it is.
And
Yeah.
I went in for that induction, and she did not want to come out.
Nope.
3 days later, she finally, in my daughter's way that she is, decided, fine, okay, fine, fine, fine. You're obviously not going to leave me alone about this. So I'm going to come out. And as I was pushing her, she got stuck. I had been pushing for 3 hours. I had a blood vessel burst in my eye. I was developing an infection. I had a fever.
Hmm.
And I was starting not to look good. And I decided to say, help me do something. And my doctor used a forceps. Forceps should not be used on first time moms. I got a fourth degree tear. I hemorrhaged right then and there. So now I'm looking at the thing that I wanted most in this world, my little girl. And I am bleeding out on the table.
Yep.
I said, okay, we're not going to do this like this again. Like, I want another child, but we can't do this. But I knew that day couldn't be my day. And by the grace of God and many and medical intervention, they were able to save me and stop my bleeding. But I had to go home weak. I had to go home and not really be in a condition to take care of her. The anemia was interfering with lactation. However, I went to lactation and they said it was my infertility, which made me become a lactation counselor. That's why that paperwork reads like a dossier.
I know. I have it up on my other screen, and I'm just like, holy cow. Yep. Yep. Hmm.
So it was like, oh, I don't I don't believe that to be right, even as a doula, and even though we only take, roughly 4 hours of breastfeeding training, it's not really what I know to be true.
Right.
But I am a person who wants to know the really understand. So I became a lactation counselor as later, but I fought. And so I was able to breastfeed my daughter for 13 months, but I had to pump. She stopped latching after 4 months.
Oh my God.
And but I was determined, which is my way. However, what was done to me and lack of support and understanding could have derailed something that I deeply believed in, which in and of itself, if I wasn't the person I am, it would have caused me a huge amount of mental distress.
Yeah.
But I was in a condition and in a state where my only responsibility was taking care of her. So I'm one of those mamas. I'm an activities mama. I don't know if there are any more activities mama. As soon as she was old enough to do anything, because I was like, I can't, like, I need a break, but I don't trust to leave her anywhere. So I just
Yep.
need to take her places where there are things to
Yep.
do. So we're out. We have a schedule, right? We have a full schedule. We have our activities down. This way she naps well. Like we were doing. the life as and then of course her dad transitioned into it. It took him a little bit more time. He did not transition well with the exhaustion and the other things, but again, that's sometimes relational, not parenting, but it's like, hey, I can't do everything.
Right.
And as I got to the 13 months, and I remember when she was born, I said, I can do this one more time, even though it was hard, traumatic. Okay, little disclaimer, my husband's an only child, okay? I refuse to make my daughter an only child.
Yep. Okay. So we're gonna do it again.
We are going to do it again, but I told myself, I was like, I cannot do another infertility treatment. Like
Yep.
that was not at all in the cards for me. So I did like a lot of moms. My baby was one, she was walking, she was fine with her dad. Like I trusted the people that were around to take care of her, and I went into life. I was going to the gym. I started socializing and being around my friends. I was pregnant within 3 months of that that span.
Good
I
job.
literally stopped breastfeeding at 13 months, and at 15 months, I was pregnant. And I was excited. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. They are 23 months apart in age.
Yep.
And my son and my daughter are night and day. He was easy. My daughter, that 4 month regression, fighting, wouldn't go to sleep, crying for hours. Like it says that she should stop doing it in 2 weeks. She didn't. It took her like three, like three, almost a month. And even with that, she woke up at 4 a.m. every single day. Like my daughter was just different. My son didn't do any of it. My son came home and just would go to sleep. He's always been that way. But now it's flipped. Now she sleeps in and he wakes up, no matter what day of the week it is, at like 7 in the morning. And I'm just like, sir, none of us are up. We're not here to entertain you. And so he says, Mommy, when are you getting up? And I'm like, I thought as y'all got older, this got easier. Like,
So wicked. What was your pregnancy, labor, and delivery like with him? Because I know so many women, as you know, the first delivery ends up being pretty traumatic for many
mm,
reasons. And then a
yes.
lot of us are like, nope, I'm not doing it that way again. And we make changes. So, what happened on round two with you?
So with my son, let's just say I didn't play the game. Like I was not interested in the way they were telling me I needed to birth, and I knew that that wasn't right. I knew that I knew that this wasn't right, and I wasn't gonna let fear motivate me into doing something that wasn't good for me, my family, my child.
Right.
None of it. So when I went to have my son, was totally different. It was completely calm. It was 12 hours of labor. I remember in the middle of the labor, because I had a fourth-degree tear, my doctor came in and said, well, we think you should have a C-section. And I said, I'm not having a C-section. And she was like, well, don't let what happened last time happen again.
I hate the fear mongering. I just,
I'm like,
okay.
I'm going to continue to sit on my birthing ball and do my
Hmm.
circles and work this out. Uh, My husband took the instructions from the last time where he was sporadic, didn't know when he was supposed to apply himself. And even though I did my best to train my husband, he made me an excellent doula. He made me 10 times better than I was before because I spend a lot of time with the dads now. I
Yes.
make sure that they are so super ready. In the
Yep.
beginning, when we used to do this work, well, when I started, I worked a lot with single moms.
Hmm.
As I've gotten older and people look for demographics and people that resemble them, I work a lot more with married families. When I started, it was single moms because they were teens or in their young 20s.
Okay.
So I didn't work with as many married couples as I do now. I have a full slate. Anyone comes to my practice, and it's usually for my expertise. But watching my husband not know how to support me
Yeah.
no matter how much I tried. We did everything, the classes. I tried to get him involved, but I later learned that there are other reasons why people don't do things, and I'm not gonna make that part of the story. So what I'll say is that when I had my second child, he slept the whole labor
Well, that's good for him.
because I pushed for 3 hours last time, and he wanted to have enough energy to help me push instead of realizing he was supposed to be there for the whole experience. So, but he wasn't even awake when the doctor came in and told me, "Don't let this happen again."
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard. What's crazy to me, even with experience, even with a second birth, is are the things that medical professionals say to you and expect you to decide in the moment when you're in active labor. Like that's what do you these should have been conversations earlier. And if I've told you how I want to do it, unless there's something going on, let me do what I want to do. um it's crazy to me. Don't let this happen again. Like you have all this power and control because you wanted it that way the first time. We all want a fourth degree tear.
Right. And to go through the recovery of all of that, right? That's ideal. But what I'll say is that I let none of that happen. I did not let a group of people who have a perception based on their profession influence what I knew to be right. So I labored with my son 12 hours exactly. I labored 12 hours exactly, and he came out, unmedicated. And I know for me, that was necessary because one of the reasons I had that tear was my daughter was posterior,
Right.
and I needed to be able to have range of motion because I didn't want that again. So I went into it, and it was the most beautiful experience. He came out. I got to hold him immediately. Nobody whisked him away. The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was me, and I got to have that moment with him that was taken from me with my daughter. So
Yeah.
his birth and again, he didn't even make me sick while I was pregnant. I found out that I was pregnant because I was working out and I was doing a chest press and something popped at the I was like, that's not supposed to do that. And one of the ladies I work out with all the time, she said, "Don't be pregnant." And I was like, wait a minute. When was the last time? Well, I left that workout and went and checked, and I am definitely pregnant. But then here's another thing. My children have peanut allergy.
Okay.
Navigating school systems with a child that has that kind of allergy is something like a nightmare. My daughter is allergic to insect bites, and this is something that I don't know if it happens in every state, but it sure happens around here. We have gotten to the point where we are so afraid to do the right thing. We are afraid to do the right thing. I had this moment, and I was just thinking about this. They raising them has been the best part of my life in so many ways. I get to this point where I have to share them. I got to be, we went through COVID together. So like my kids were with me 24/7, and I embraced it because guess what? You couldn't even go to the park. There was I literally made my house a jungle gym. I'm being honest with you. I hung swings from doors. I had toddlers that had been locked in the house. When COVID happened, my son had turned 1. I had just went to a birth. I got back from the birth. I landed and we were in complete lockdown. It
Yep.
was days after his first birthday. I was I was losing it. My kids went from having activities. I told you I was an activity mom
Yep. I love it.
to we're going to do all of their activities virtual. My toddler had to go to preschool online. While I was still chasing the baby, I had children that were not supposed to go outside. I had to get a bigger fence to go around my yard because there was like, I think it was like a curfew or something. I had to recreate an entire education play school system in my house, inside and out. We went with the Montessori approach, but there is nothing that could explain to you what it is like to try to raise your children in isolation. At least not that
Oh
I
my
could put into
gosh.
words.
It's awful. It's awful. It was
I
awful.
I remember, all the kids had masks on. So they were like, your kid can't come in if they don't have a mask on. So I ended up putting a rain cover over the stroller because my toddler, my baby, wasn't gonna wear, he was one. He wasn't gonna wear a mask. I was like, listen, I gotta be able to take him out without all this fear mongering. And you would get harassed if your child didn't have a mask on. And I'm like, she's 3 and he's 1. Like, I don't know how to make them keep the mask on. We're dealing with small children.
Yeah, it was
So I bought a double decker stroller and I put a rain cover over it so that my kids basically had the bubble over them and I was able to walk around in public without the people harassing you. And I
right.
remember the first time I took my kids to a park. Oh my God. People were terrified.
I
And
know.
I'm like, they need to play.
I
And I would get harassed. Like there was nobody at the park and a car would stop and they would go, "Hey, are you supposed to be out here? Do you all live?" I'm like, "Yes, we live out here. We know it's COVID, but if these kids stay in the house any longer."
all gonna be homicidal.
Listen, I have every kind of hand sanitizer. We are at the point where we have mobile potty in the car. We have everything,
I
but
know.
these kids have to go outside. So I don't. Shout out to all the moms that raised kids during the COVID lockdown. Like you all, gold star, just exceptional human beings. Period. And then I send them to school after having them so close to me, and my kids have allergies. And I had to acclimate to a system that didn't know how to be considerate. So you fill out all the paperwork, you tell them, hey, are you able to do Benadryl? And you give them this. And I remember the day, this is just a parenting nightmare for me. I remember the day my daughter got insect bite. And we already had the note from the doctor about all of this. And they called me and said, it's on the wrong form. I said, but she's itching now. She has a big, this thing is growing on her. They're like, we put ice on it. I am a whole life medical professional. You do not put ice on something someone is allergic to. It's not going to make it better. You have to give them something for the allergen.
Right.
So I had to learn how to parent my children in an environment that is not always conducive for the growth of children
Yeah.
because she's crying and I can't do anything. I think that's another vulnerable point. I have to get to her to be able to help her, and she's
Right.
away from me. I learned so much in that moment. I know you're wondering, but I was like, in that moment, I learned so much as a parent
Mhm.
because they don't know. It took me 17 years to have her. So if she is having an issue, I am quite the mom.
Yep.
So I think about where I am from the 17 years of wanting children to the struggles of having them, raising them, being anemic. I even during COVID, one of the things I forgot that also made me a lactation counselor, made me decide to do that was my milk was drying up, but there was no milk in the stores. And so I was like, I need to get back up to supply for my son. So I called my doctor for medication to help me, and it gave me a postpartum mood disorder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you've been through it, which is why you've done so much in your work and why you have to spin down your CV because there's so much on it. I want to I want to kind of I guess wrap up because you're the founder of
yeah.
Birthwise and the lifespan birth method. And I want to talk about all your parenting journeys, your whole journey, the 17 years and having your kids has really changed, transformed how you work with other families too.
Mhm.
And I'd love for you to tell us about that because you work nationwide with this,
I do.
which I want to point out because you said you're in North Carolina, but that doesn't mean people can't work with you. So, can you talk about that and how people get in touch with you and why you did it that way?
Absolutely. So during my journey of everything that I learned about myself, I realized that the crux of the entire design started way before we ever got to the parenting, or when our children leave and we become empty nesters, or we go into becoming grandparents, or whatever it is along our life as women, whether we choose not to have children, whatever it is, our minds, our bodies, our genes are expressing things that are determining our health outcomes. I don't like saying health, I mean your wellness. I'm talking about your mental frameworks, your financial stability, your access to education, your career development, your physical body, and how it is manifesting success in your life for what you want. Whatever you want is designed by you. So we don't realize how much is being influenced, not to mention the genes that are influencing you and the environment that comes from where you come from. So your parents, your grandparents, the environment you grew up in, all of these things are manifesting traits in your life that may stop you from being successful in the way that you most desire. For me, I grew up under high stress, 80s child, military family, mother who left when I was 10. I had all kinds of things that had been stored in my body that led to me having infertility that nobody ever would have looked at. I
Yeah.
cured it because I understood that. So the lifespan method looks at who are you on every level? How does this affect what you're eating? Do you understand your relationship to what you're eating and what is manifesting in your life? What
Yeah.
is your mental health framework? Whether that means that you're using mental health professionals or you're using a spiritual guide, it doesn't matter. What does it look like? How is it manifesting in your nervous system, in your parasympathetic, in your body that actually help you be successful? Do you have access to the things that make you stable, financial stability, access to education, access to proper housing, affordable housing for where you are, safe housing for where you are? All of these things matter. You have to have access to thrive. And a lot of times we find that women have stuffed parts of themselves away in order to maintain some other part of themselves in order to be able to get up every day. But you're actually destroying a part of your wellness. So we stop that. We turn that on its head. One of the very first things that you learn when you come into my practice is nutritional therapy. Nutrition for who you are. What is your body manifesting? I mean, I'll look at you and even say, hey, we need to try this in your diet just because you have acne, right? Or you're having acid reflux, or you're having thinning hair, or all of these other things before we even get into the whole nutrition for just being a woman. Then we start doing somatic work, because somatic works within any framework that a person exists. So whatever you believe doesn't stop somatic work from working. That's breath work, that's body work, that's the yoga and all of those things. Then we start building out environmental changes so that you can actually incorporate into your environment the things that make you well, the things that make you feel safe, and actually identify anything that is not working well for you. Then we get into the physical body, the movements that unwind your very being. Why did I do all of that? Because we are so unaware of what is actually affecting our outcomes. We get into all of the things with education, childbirth education, lactation, breastfeeding, all of those things when it comes to our moms coming in. Then we train the partners, right? The partners spend a whole lot of time with us, making sure they understand. And then we do couple working together. And depending on where the couples want to go, we will go all the way to learning tantric, right? If you want those
Oh,
kind of
okay.
guidance, it is there because we're broken, right? when we don't understand the difference between oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the love hormone, it's also said is the feel-good hormone. But there's another one. Dopamine is not the feel-good hormone. And so sometimes people have developed sexual nature that is actually counterproductive to their wellness. So we teach them, if they want to know, Tantra because it helps with the oxytocin relationship instead of the addiction relationship. Very different. So, and it takes people a long time and a lot of patience. So, and I'm an advocate. I am the fighter in the room. I am a full spectrum doula. So, I do the physical, emotional knowledge support. I educate. And then I hand you all your power back.
That's the important part.
Hand you all your power back. Healing is legacy. I hand it all back to you. I want you to thrive when you leave my office. I want you to be able to leave and say, I'm ready to do this. I'm whole. And if I need to have someone to lean on or come back to, I can. But I want you to leave in the fullness of everything that is you. And even if you feel like, you know what, I'm not having children right now, somatic work is for everyone. I am a breath worker. I work with the female mind, the nervous system. And I teach you how to reset it so that you remain whole, even in the midst of whatever you're going through. I'm handing your power. None of the things that I'm doing takes anything onto me, it leaves it all with you. And that is the difference. And it makes a complete circle, which is what I teach.
I love this. I have all of the links in the show notes. What is the best or easiest way for people to get in touch with you to work with you, both
Info at,
for your
yeah.
private practice and for other fellow doulas, birth workers?
Info at birthwisedoulas.com. Anywhere you find Birthwise Doulas, anywhere where you see the whole word, that's me. Calendly, if you want that, you can use Calendly at Birthwise Doulas, Instagram Birthwise Doulas, TikTok Birthwise Doulas. Wherever you look for the birth, now don't look for abbreviations. Look for the actual Birthwise Doulas. Okay, you'll know when you see those hands cradling, that is us. Okay.
Right.
If you need to find me, you can look me up at TonyCurtis.com. If you don't remember Birthwise and you just remember my name, put in TonyCurtis.com. It'll pop up and you can schedule time with me.
Toni, thank you so much for sharing your story. What a wild ride. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm so honored to be able to share it.